Hello, my name is Blake Patterson, and welcome to Afro Reviews. In honor of this year's Sight and Sound poll, I decided to unofficially participate by giving my choices for the greatest films of all time. As usual with lists, these are as subjective as our opinions on a film, and our selections for this challenge may vary over time. My choices for this list mainly derive from their impact and influence on my imagination and personality. If anyone agrees with my list, it would be surprising, and I would wonder if you are my secret twin. Here are a few honorable mentions you might have expected me to mention in this list. Once Upon a Time in the West, Fritz Lang's M, Blue Velvet, Rocco and His Brothers, and Jules and Jim. By the way, do not be surprised if you find some of the following choices unexpected. Anyways, number 10, Jean-Luc Godard's Contempt. To be honest, I was not sure which Godard to pick because I considered 4 of his films to be on the same level: Band of Outsiders, Contempt, Vivre sa vie, and Weekend. To resolve the conflict, I relied on the shuffle option on Letterboxd. Conflict aside, Godard's Contempt is one of the late filmmaker's most affecting films in how it combines his personal life and filmmaking. Godard incorporates the story of a dysfunctional marriage and compares it to a film production in crisis. The result is a funny, intelligent, and surprisingly moving work, with Georges Delerue score contributing to the pathos. Number 9, Make Way for Tomorrow. Leo McCarey's 1937 masterpiece was a film I viewed for the first time a while ago, and I knew it was a special film for how it earnestly affected me. Ironically, Make Way for Tomorrow is another story about a marriage in crisis, but the difference is how the older partners love each other. However, their obstacle is financial and emotional because they cannot afford their home or live together in one of their children's places. McCarey does not crassly manipulate his audience because he subtly directs his gifted ensemble to emanate the characters' nuances. The film leads to one of the most heartbreaking conclusions ever. Number 8, River's Edge. Some of you may think I am insane for including this forgotten work on my list. However, few American movies have made me think more than River's Edge. The 1987 film incorporates a true story to examine amoral adolescence in the 80s counterculture. One of the reasons why River's Edge is so exciting and memorable is how it tries to understand each character and their problems. Audiences may not like the behavior they witness, but it is the conduct of an emotionally distant culture in decay. If my praise for the greatest teen drama ever does not convince viewers, you should know filmmakers Sean Baker and Richard Linklater also champion River's Edge. Number 7, Ahazard Balthazar. In gorgeous black and white, Robert Brazone's magnum opus is not simply a story of an animal meeting new people. Brazone utilizes a stoic donkey as a metaphor for everyone and how we struggle through life. Audiences observe how Balthazar experiences the inhumanity of the world, and Brazone recognizes how our lives evolve without any control. All we can do is try to understand each other and the world. Regarding spirituality, few films can achieve the shift toward transcendentalism, and Ahazard Balthazar succeeds in its build-up toward an emotionally resonant climax. The motion picture remains a radical achievement because no animal-led feature has Balthazar's lingering audacity and power. Number 6, The Rules of the Game. On the brink of fascism, Jean Renoir's The Rules of the Game is an intelligent satire of upper-middle-class hypocrisies. Renoir playfully portrays the wealthy figures as adulterous, yet he humanizes each character. It would be easy for Renoir to be smug toward these characters, but his natural empathy creates a wholly satisfying peace. In the famous hunting sequence, Renoir conveys how angst can transform into violence. Even after several decades, the rules of the game has not lost its ability to provoke ideas, laughter, and shock. In this 1939 French classic, Renoir built the track so Robert Altman and Louis Buñuel could run. Number 5. The Passion of Joan of Arc. Carl Theodor Dreyer's The Passion of Joan of Arc is a beautifully meticulous evocation of persecution and intolerance. Dreyer's masterpiece transcends its textual surface by finding the allegorical significance of being a social outcast in an unjust society. Renee Falconetti's expressive performance is an impeccably etched portrayal because she never goes stiff or for melodrama. The cast and crew accomplish an otherworldly atmosphere as the movie evolves, and there are few cinematic experiences I would ever call otherworldly. With its elegant soundtrack and masterful utilization of close-up framing, The Passion of Joan of Arc is the richest and most powerful film of the silent era. Number 4. Belle de Jour. Much can be written about Louis Buñuel's Belle de Jour and its themes. Buñuel surrealistically explores the experiences of a sexually frustrated woman who decides to be a prostitute while her bourgeois husband is away from home for work. The motion picture includes fantasy and reality as the two modes blur for the viewer and the main character, Séverine Cerise. In his exploration of female sexuality, Buñuel is never condescending toward Séverine, as we sense the filmmaker's empathy from the film's opening fantasy to the tragic closure. Catherine Deneuve receives much unnecessary backlash, but her performance as Séverine is mysterious, luminous, and moving. No one today can match Buñuel's passion and precision for filmmaking. Number 3. Chinatown. Roman Polanski's Chinatown is the definitive neo-noir mystery in how Robert Towne incorporates the Watergate scandal for this compelling indictment of political corruption. The film takes place in 1930s Los Angeles, but Chinatown's importance and power are timeless due to everyone's efforts behind and in front of the camera. As private detective Jake Gittes, Jack Nicholson perfects the wisecracking nature of his character, but he also creates an immediately reliable protagonist. Even if some may find Gittes irresponsible, there is trust in the character's abilities to figure out the mystery of his case. As the investigation evolves, Chinatown becomes increasingly shocking until its morbid finale, thanks to Faye Dunaway's excellent performance and a chilling John Huston. Chinatown is a perfect film. Number 2. Sancho Dayu. Few films are as deeply affecting as Sancho Dayu, a heart-wrenching tale about two children enslaved and separated by their parents due to the tyrannical forces of Japan during the 11th century. Kinji Mizoguchi created this film with elegant craftsmanship, socio-political substance, and emotional sensitivity. Even for a motion picture concerning slavery and the terrors of fascism, Mizoguchi applies a subtle human touch to the narrative, and he moves the audience without being cynical. The motion picture has served as an inspiration for Terrence Malick and Steven Spielberg. While those filmmakers have directed amazing work, their films pale in comparison to the majesty of Mizoguchi's craftsmanship. It is challenging to find a word to describe Sancho Dayu because one adjective cannot give it justice. And number 1. Here is a tie I would like to call the Altman trifecta, because to exclude two of the films is to commit a disservice to America's best auteur. The three films are Nashville, McCabe and Mrs. Miller, and Shortcuts. Nashville is the most profound portrait of America anyone is likely to view, but no one could ever achieve its height. In post-Watergate America, Robert Altman creates a mosaic of multiple lives and how they interconnect for a few days in Nashville, Tennessee. Altman satirizes class and socio-political hypocrisies and a nation in crisis. Altman displays his awareness of social division through every character's insecurities and pretensions, and the film is an accomplishment in humanistic observation and scathing satire. McCabe and Mrs. Miller is not only the best Western of all time, but it is the most haunting study of capitalism's toll on society. Through the unconventional bond of a gambler and a prostitute, Altman subverts Western traditions and conveys how big business takes over the individual. Altman develops rural poetry out of the setting with Vilmos Zsigmond's cinematography and Leonard Cohen's music, and the film achieves elegiac catharsis in its final images. The least popular but equally potent third entry is Shortcuts, which takes Altman back to the glory days of Nashville. The film is a satirical mosaic about middle-class lives and desperation during the 90s in the Los Angeles region. Building off Nashville, Altman continues to examine a society suffering from miscommunication, and each performance reveals insight into the way people live without being smug. Shortcuts encapsulates Altman's authentic and provocative spirit, and it is the late filmmaker's last triumph. These three masterpieces express more about American society than any movie ever could. As you consider my choices, you may wonder about other great films not on the list, or try to find a common theme. If there is a thread among these films, it is their humanity through different forms of storytelling. Art should be an act of empathy, and these films prove the medium's worth. Thank you for watching this video. Have a great night.